Howdy folks, I was thinking that this next video would be the other vinyl tag, Stunty's vinyl tag, but sometimes things happen that you can't foresee, and that I will strike gold that I did yesterday, no, I couldn't foresee, so I thought that it might be a good idea to do a vinyl and CD update, since I have a lot to show that I've been finding during December and the beginning of January. So it will be a whole lot of jazz, but not only jazz, but much jazz still. So I go to singles first. A whole lot of singles. First of all, one that I was really happy to find, and it is this with CCS, some jazz rock style, Alexis Corner, and Walking and Salome. A nice one from 1971. And I'll try to take this pretty fast anyway, so it won't be a video that will go on forever. Now going to 80s, Debbie Harry from Blondie in her solo days in the 80s. This is French Kissing in the USA. One of the better tracks from her solo career. We have some Dollar, Mirror Mirror from 1981, and the Paris collection, the album that I do have. Little quick peek of jazz maybe. Frank Sinatra, LA is My Lady with Quincy Jones and his orchestra. But it's much more funkier actually than you can imagine with both Frank Sinatra and when it says Quincy Jones and his orchestra. But really, really nice. I do have the album also, so not often I buy Frank Sinatra on single. Now I'm coming into the singles I found for 10 cents during this Saturday. It was at a record store here, Vinylsvallet, that had a part with the little lower price records, and that part they had been selling out now for 10 cents. So I came home yesterday with quite much records. So the singles I'm starting with here, Eddie Money, Running Back. It's actually pretty good. I think it's one of the better songs I heard with Eddie Money. A little rockier Police actually, but better actually. So it's actually pretty good. Lips Inc., not with Funky Town, but with their version of Ace How Long. Interesting version though. I had not heard this before, so this was more or less, I know only Lips Inc. through Funky Town. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's an interesting, different version, but a little slow and so, but really interesting and pretty good produced. So I might keep it for now, but what will happen in future cullings, I don't know. But for now, this might stay in collection. Same with this. This was a complete blind buy. I feel like when I see singles that cheap, I can do blind buys because they don't take that much place, and they are cheap enough to do some discovery whether this is an interesting artist or not. This is a man called Adrian Baker, and the single is from 1978, and it's called Feel Like Dancing. So, and on the other side, I'll Keep You Satisfied. What this actually is, I listened to a quick peek. It's not bad. It's pretty solid 70s disco. but it's no doubt that he's trying his absolute best to sound like Barry Gibb. He's definitely listening to some a whole lot of Bee Gees, and he's really trying to be a Bee Gees clone. It's not bad. It's actually pretty okay, even though it's not. It doesn't have the Gibb brothers writing, but it's pretty okay. But it sounds a little cheap. But it's musically, it's okay. So for now, it stays. Dan Hartman, it's a more famous name. This is from 1978 also, a song called This Is It. This one I had no idea what it was. Chicane, something called. I don't know where they're from. They sound very British, but it's actually released on Swedish label M&W. I don't know whether this is distributed through M&W or if it is released through the M&W. But what I bought it for mainly was you get for 10 cents a single that looks like this. Why not? Then of course it would be even better if the music is good. It's first published in 1971, so I guess the song is somewhere around there. Chicane and a song called Big Step. And on the B side we have Knight in Shining Armor. And it isn't all that bad. It's a little glam rock style, but still guitar pop rock style, early 70s, and it actually, for the genre, it doesn't sound all that bad. So this one definitely stays in the collection. Of course, much to the look of the single and the color of the single, but it's also it's good enough actually to stay in the collection, which I was. To have to save a horrible single only because the single looks good, it wouldn't be all that good. So it helps, of course, that the music is good as well. Darryl Hall and John Oates did it in a minute from Private Eyes album, which I think is from '81. Yes, '81. Head Above Water at the B-side. We have from the soundtrack Breakin'. A soundtrack that I do have, I think. We have Carolyn Lynn Towns and 99.5 from this soundtrack. And then it is Electric Beat, it's on a breakdance style, 80s style. Here comes a couple of singles that most likely not will stay in the collection. That I'm glad I only paid 10 cents for it. This is a band called Slick. Now, someone at Rachel Stream said that it could be Midgeor's previous band before he had Ultravox, but I have hard time seeing that, since we're talking 70s disco. In some form, and this is a song, a single. The A side is called Space Bass, which is a melody line that goes through the song instrumental, and then a choir every now and then. But hello, where is the real melody? Any kind of verse, any kind of great refrain. So it was very, very empty. And the B-side, The Whole World Is Dancing, sounds like a rip-off of Goombag Dance Stand and of that kind of European disco, 70s disco crap. So this one will most likely not stay in the collection. Same goes with this band that I know exactly nothing about. The band is called Good News, and the bad news is that while it's actually a pretty good disco, 70s disco production, the song Australia is especially the refrain. The refrain is the one that is most horrible because it has a choir that really sounds really, really bad. So very cheesy, even though it was good produced. It sounded better in the beginning than what it became in the refrain. So unfortunately, I can't see myself saving this. Quick, some Swedish lager singers. The Swedish Jim Reeves, you might call him, Gunnar Wiklund, and a couple of EPs with Swedish slagers. And we have Swedish jazz pianist, boogie pianist Charlie Norman with an EP with a couple of boogies. An EP with boogies. Boogie woogies. We have one CD single, or I have one CD single that I was really happy to find, REM 1999. This is The Great Beyond. And we have a couple other tracks here, live tracks from Glastonbury, the one I love, Everybody Hurts, Man on the Moon, live versions. So really great to find a REM CD or single, should I say, CD single. Now, jazz for a while. Two jazz CDs. We have a Thelonious Monk, Standards on Columbia Jazz Masterpiece, a great label. So we have all different kinds of setting here, or from Thelonious Monk in playing piano solo to different kind of band settings, and they're all recorded in 1964 or 1967. So I have a lot of Thelonious Monk to listen to. This one was also very interesting. I couldn't resist it. This is actually a Blue Note. Not often I buy Blue Note, especially not on CD. This is Charlie Mingus, and Mingus in Wonderland. Live recording from Nagoon Art Gallery in New York City in 1959. The musicians I don't know that much about, other than Mingus, of course. But quick peek says it sounded actually pretty good. So they were very, very interesting. Vinyl. All these. We have Count Basie and with Glastujan Volume 2, which of course then is some really great swing from the between 1936 to 1940. Both small band and big bands. We have Lionel Hampton on this marvelous RCA black and white label. More Hampton stuff. And here is a whole lot of small band swing, which always is interesting with Lionel Hampton, because you see his big band stuff very much, but his small band recordings aren't just as easy to find. And while we're at it, Lionel Hampton stepping out, also with a whole lot of small bands, recording from 1942 to 45, released on Choral. We have a live recording with Woody Herman, recorded live at Basin Street, West Hollywood, 1963. Encore, the best band of the year. We're going to come back to Woody Herman later on. We have some Ellington men. Things Ain't What They Used to Be. Johnny Hodges and Rex Stewart. Released on RCA Victor Vintage Series. And a whole lot of Ellington name, including Ellington himself on piano, but it is released as Johnny Hodges and his orchestra with Rex Stewart. And it also contains small band, even though it says and his orchestra is small band, swing. So it's very interesting. I'm not going to waste time for this much because I showed it the first time at my year in review, but I haven't showed it in any vinyl CD update. Paul Quinchette and the Vice President in 1954. It was number 10 on my best finding of the year. So I'm just showing it real quick. This one is interesting. Illinois Jacket with Milt and Joe, which makes you believe that it actually is Milt Jackson and Joe Jones. And Joe Jones is right, but it is the pianist Milt Buckner. I don't know if they did it with purpose, trying to fool everybody that it's with this, that making everybody believe that it's Milt Jackson, but still it's very interesting. 1974 is the recording date. You wanted more Lionel Hampton? You got it. And also this with small band. So I'm very happy to have found 3 albums with Lionel Hampton and small bands. Verb Jazz collection number 13. Coleman Hawkins with Oscar Peterson, Ray Eldridge, Ben Webster, Herb Ellis, Roy Brown, you name it. Recording from I think it's the late 50s recordings. On Verb. Found a whole great deal of Pablo. Zoot Sims and the Gershwin brothers. It's recording from 1975. Oscar Peterson is here also. Joe Pass is here. George Mraz is here, and Gray Tatran. So it's great names playing with Zoot Sims. And we have more with Oscar Peterson. Buddy DeFranco and meets Oscar Peterson Quartet Hark. Recorded in 1985. And the Peterson names here are Joe Pass, Niels Henning Osset Peterson, and Martin Brew. And of course Buddy DeFranco on clarinet. Count Basie, the Kansas City Septem. I don't know what Septem means. I suppose it's meant to be septet. So I don't know if what they have, why they have written Septem, but recording from 1983 here, mostly blues and some others. Eddie Locke, Joe Davis, Freddie Green, his eternal follower, Joe Pass. You name it, Snooky Young. This is interesting. Released on Commodore. We have Edmond Hall, which normally I consider a Dixieland musician, but here he plays swing session with Edmond Hall, and it wasn't Edmond Hall that, of course, is the reason why I got drawn to it. It was that at piano we have Teddy Wilson. So this sounds extremely interesting. Charlie Parker 10th Memorial Concert, recorded live at Cagney Hall, 1965, 10 years after Charlie Parker's death. Here we have a list of really great names. Dizzy Gillespie, James Moody, Roy Eldridge, Coleman Hawkins, Billy Taylor, Hit Me. And it's really great, and great concert. This one was the first album I bought in 2022. So this is the first album of the year. The World of Duke Ellington Volume 3. While I'm a little bit careful with Duke Ellington regular compilations, because I don't want to have those ordinary songs set in Doll, CGM Blues, Take the A Train. This contains neither of them. These are 50s recordings. 50s recording, yes. With songs that I actually didn't have, and a double album set. I listened to one of the LPs, and it sounds really, really good. So nice to find an Ellington compilation that I with songs that I actually don't have, released on CBS. Now, 10 cent. 10 cent. For a jazz album that I have thought myself of being the only jazz lover that don't have this one, but I felt like I've gotta have it. Even though it's Neil Hefti arrangement that I'm not all that interested in, but for 10 cent, and it contains the great Whirly Bird that I actually think is one of Basie's best songs. So I had to buy this Atomic Basie album. A classic, of course, is the issue, but still fun to have. And it contains Whirly Bird. I promised more Woody Herman, and I will keep my promise. Woody Herman, 1963, the swingiest big band ever. Woody's 25th year, his greatest. Recorded in 1962, though. Swedish jazz. These are the Swedish jazz elite, with Bengt Hallberg piano, Arne Domnér saxophone, Nisse Sandström saxophone, Ove Lind clarinet, in a Fontanic series that have been released, sing a whole lot of great albums with this section. Here is Gershwin Evergreens. They play only George Gershwin songs on 2 albums. So double album Swedish swing for 10 cent. And also with a book sheet to read. So this is going to be very, very interesting. More Pablo. We have Passion Flower. Soot Sims plays Duke Ellington. Soot Sims with a big band. Pablo, 1979. A little hesitating whether this is good or not, but for 10 cent, why not? And while we're at Ellington, we can have some real Ellington names here. Paul Gonsalves, one of Duke Ellington's men through the years, along with Cat Anderson, another Ellington man through the years, with recordings from 1970. These are also containing Prince Woodyard on organ. You know, I love jazz with organ. Sextet with Paul Gonsalves, 1970. Soot Sims is everywhere. Best of Soot Sims. I was a little hesitating because the previous that I had with in this best of series from Pablo has been a little bit so-so. I had one with Harry Swiss Edison that was so-so. So I was a little hesitating. This series hasn't given me the best so far, but for 10 cent you can try again. And with a nonette like this, it's going to be very, very interesting. Recordings doesn't say when it's recorded, but I assume that it's somewhere down 60s, 70s. Now we're leaving jazz for today. Swedish singer-songwriter Roger Rönning and the album Nattens skuggor, Shadows of the Night. I have some singles for this guy, and he's really talented. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Album from 1979. This one, I guess, is pretty familiar. Roxy Music, Flesh and Blood, from 1980. For 10 cents. I've been buying a whole lot of great Rod Stewart with the 60s recording, late 60s recording. This is Rod Stewart, A Shot of Rhythm and Blues, recorded in United Kingdom, 1964 to 66, so it's a little earlier than I'm used to. It can be good, it can be bad, as I'm no huge fan of 60s rock all that much. But the previous 60s albums that I had with Rod Stewart have been great, so it's going to be very, very interesting. Climax Blues Band. I haven't listened all that much to them, so this Gold Plated is my first Climax Blues Band. I bought it because of this song, Couldn't Get It Right, although I have it on single, but for 10 cents I give it a shot. Uh, 1976, and we have Art Garfunkel, Fate for Breakfast, containing Bright Eyes, that I actually think is a marvelous song. So 1979, I think this is song. And finally, from Dire Straits fame, David Knopfler, and a solo album from 1983. So, kept it under 30 minutes. I'm impressed with myself. So, those were the stuff that I've been finding recently. I have some to go through. I really do. So, next time I hope it will be the vinyl tag, the Stunt Rock Confusion edition. So until then, have a real nice time. No matter where you are, no matter what you do. Take care and so long.